Kofi, a young university student, finds himself stranded late at night after missing the last bus. Desperate to get home, he makes a fateful decision to enter a mysterious taxi that appears out of nowhere. But what begins as a simple ride home quickly turns into a chilling nightmare. The driver, with glowing red eyes and an eerie silence, takes Kofi on a journey into the unknown. Dark roads that led far away from reality, once upon a time in the city of Nairobi. It was a cold, rainy night. Kofi, a young university student, was hurrying home after staying late to study. He had missed the last bus and the streets were almost empty. His shoes splashed in puddles as he walked, pulling his jacket tight to keep warm. He was tired, cold, and frustrated. Just then, a taxi pulled up beside him. It seemed to appear out of nowhere. The driver didn't say a word, just looked at him through the open window. Kofi hesitated. He had heard the stories about the taxi that picks people up, and they are never seen again. His mother had warned him about traveling late at night, especially when it rained, but it was late, and he had no other way to get home. Against his better judgment, he climbed into the back seat. The doors shut with a soft click. The car moved silently through the streets. Kofi looked out the window, trying to recognize the roads. But the city looked strange tonight. Even familiar streets seemed foreign. "Where are we going?" Kofi asked after several minutes. The driver didn't answer. Instead, he turned onto a road Kofi had never seen before. Kofi's heart began to race. He glanced at the driver. The man's face was hidden in the shadows, but Kofi could see his eyes in the rearview mirror. They glowed faintly red. His hands trembled as he reached for the door handle, but there wasn't one. The door couldn't be opened from the inside. He felt a chill crawl down his spine. Something wasn't right. "Let me out," Kofi said, trying to sound brave, but his voice cracked. The driver remained silent, his eyes fixed on the road. The car seemed to speed up, the buildings around them becoming blurs. Kofi's heart pounded. He fumbled for his phone, but there was no signal. He was completely cut off. Panic started to set in. He pounded on the window. "Stop the car!" The driver finally spoke, his voice low and cold. "You shouldn't have entered the taxi." Fear gripped Kofi. He looked around, desperate for something, anything that could help him. But the streets outside were deserted, and the lights of the city were fading into darkness. It felt like they were driving further and further away from everything. Kofi's mind raced. He thought of his family, his friends. Would they even know what happened to him? He remembered the stories his grandmother used to tell him. Stories about spirits and cursed journeys. Was he on one of those journeys now? The car turned down another strange, dark road. The lights on the buildings flickered out one by one, and soon they were driving in complete darkness. Kofi couldn't see anything outside the windows anymore, only blackness. Then, suddenly, the car stopped. Kofi's breath caught in his throat. They were in the middle of nowhere, or so it seemed. The driver turned around slowly. For the first time, Kofi saw his face clearly. His skin was pale, almost grey, and his eyes glowed an unnatural red. "Get out," the driver said. Kofi's hands shook. The door unlocked itself, and he pushed it open. He stumbled out of the car and found himself standing in a strange place. A vast open field with no buildings, no trees, just darkness stretching out in all directions. The car disappeared behind him, vanishing into thin air. Kofi was alone. He started walking, but every direction looked the same. He had no idea where he was or how to get back. His footsteps echoed in the eerie silence. The sky was pitch black, with no stars, no moon. It felt like he had walked into another world entirely. Hours has passed, or maybe it was just minutes. Time seemed to slip away. His legs grew tired, and fear began to eat him from the inside. Then, in the distance, he saw a faint light. Hope surged in his chest. He ran toward it, desperate for help. But as he got closer, the light flickered, and he saw what it was, a burning torch held by a figure in a long, dark cloak. The figure stood still, waiting. Kofi slowed down. Something was wrong. The figure didn't move or speak. He could feel cold eyes watching him, and he knew this was no ordinary person. He stopped a few feet away, his heart pounding in his chest. Who are you?" he asked, his voice trembling. The figure raised its hand, pointing to the ground beneath Kofi's feet. He looked down and gasped. The earth was cracked, and from the cracks, a pale hand reached out, grasping at his ankle. Kofi screamed and tried to pull away, but the hand held tight, pulling him down. He struggled, but the struggle was no use. But the more he fought, the deeper he sank into the ground. The figure watched in silence as Kofi's body was slowly swallowed by the earth. Did you think Kofi can escape? Find out in part 2. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe for more interesting stories. Thank you.